Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Cotton and Coffee session. We are thrilled to have you all joining us as we dive into a fascinating conversation with one of the leading voices in the cotton industry. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Stacy Gorman, the Cotton Board's Director of Communications, and I will be your host for today's session. As we know, Cotton Incorporated has been a pioneering force in driving innovation, profitability, and growth within the cotton industry. And today we have the privilege of speaking with the company's new CEO, William Kimbrell. William brings a wealth of experience and a deep understanding of the industry into this role, and we are so excited to have him with us today. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the conversation. William, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Stacy. Great to be with you. Appreciate Cotton Board always putting together a good program. I think that this has been a key initiative for helping us with a lot of our communication strategy and talking about a lot of the good work that we do here at Cotton Incorporated and just in general as at the cotton industry.
Wonderful. Well, let's start by having you tell us just a little bit about yourself and your history in the cotton industry.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm born and raised in North Carolina. I'm a North Carolinian. I went down the road to North Carolina State University for college and in pursuit of a degree in textiles. So really, that's where my textile career began. I have, some family that's in the textile industry, some family that's in the furniture industry. So a lot of ties that go back to textiles. And when I went to school at NC State, was either going to pursue something in business or textiles, and landed in textiles. It's a really great school there just because it's a smaller college within a large university, but also probably one of the most well-known universities, textile universities in the world. So went to school, actually sophomore year. I kind of had a little bit of a reality check with myself as far as saying, I've got to start preparing for the next stage of life, and took the initiative of going to a job forum where they had like a student panel. And there was a student who was on the panel talking about internships and the importance of internships. And he was actually finishing his senior year. So he was about to graduate, and he was currently an intern at Cotton Incorporated. And I kind of talked to him after the event, and he said that he was going to be leaving his post, graduating in May, so leaving his position at Cotton Incorporated in June. And so I kind of took the opportunity to get introduced to the folks in our fiber processing lab, and I interviewed for that position. So actually, my career at Cotton Incorporated started in year 2000 as a student intern, and worked in the fiber processing research lab there. Worked part-time during the school year, full-time during the summers, and really was doing everything. I was overhauling machines. I was changing gears, running a lot of projects related to fiber, pulling it all the way through to yarn. And at times that when we weren't very busy, I'd have a broom in my hand. So really, I kind of started from the ground up and did about everything that there was inside of that laboratory. So graduated from NC State College of Textiles in 2002, and it was at that point I was fortunate enough that the engineering position in the fiber processing lab was open. So interviewed for that position and got it. I did a lot of interviews in the Southeast. So, at that point, the textile industry in the U.S. was pretty robust. So I was interviewing with, Frontier Spinning, Shaw, Carpet. I was Far Yarns. So I had a lot of different interviews, Milliken. And I guess my two job offers, once I went through the process, ended up being with Cotton Incorporated and also with Milliken. So started my full-time career there in 2002. Started in the fiber processing lab, as the engineer there, running a lot of projects, was promoted to manager of that lab, and then decided to go back to school. Went back to school for my MBA at NC State, and I actually did the part-time program. So I was taking classes on nights and weekends while still working full-time at Cotton Incorporated. So finally finished up my MBA in 2009, and that's really what helped me kind of transition from the research side, which I loved and had a lot of passion for, but got into more of the marketing areas and marketing functions with the company. So I started to work on, some of our new initiatives around technologies and taking those technologies out and marketing them to the industry, and held roles in that capacity for probably, 8, 9, 10 years. And then ultimately, my most recent post was managing and overseeing our Asia offices. So many are aware we have an office in Shanghai and Hong Kong, also Osaka, Japan. Osaka, we're actually closing this December with the retirement of an employee who's there, but oversaw those offices and really was helping to work with our staff there and lead a lot of our marketing initiatives in the Asia region. So a great deal of activity that goes on over there, and I guess slowly have progressed my way, and now I'm in the seat of president and CEO. So so far it's been a 22-year journey. So I've been around Cotton Incorporated for a long time, and it's been really enjoyable. Great to meet a lot of the people and work on behalf of the cotton industry.
Wow. Well, that's definitely an impressive background. And it's really fascinating to hear how your career has evolved and how much you've contributed to the industry in those 22 years. It's clear your experience has really shaped your approach to how you're going to lead Cotton Incorporated. Let me ask you, what has been your favorite program that you have led so far at Cotton Incorporated?
I've got to be careful with this. I don't want to slide anybody. I got to be pretty diplomatic here, but I've been really fortunate to have been challenged with a lot of different roles with the organization, with the company over the years. I would say probably my favorite one was when we started what we called the supply chain initiatives team. We started this initiative in around 2000, I think it was 2010 or 2011. And this is when I had transitioned kind of over into the marketing role, but was very much still involved on the research side. So it's kind of a collaboration of research and marketing together. And really, I enjoyed it the most because it was very entrepreneurial. So we were out there looking for opportunities. It was a supply chain marketing initiatives, but we called it hybrid marketing. And by hybrid marketing, we were looking for basically the best technologies out there that were good for cotton, and really casting a very broad net. We were looking for technologies that we developed internally at Cotton Incorporated. As you know, we do conduct a significant amount of research and do a lot of developments here at Cotton Incorporated. So trying to harness those technologies and things that we were developing here and marketing them out to the supply chain manufacturers, brands, and retailers, but also looking outside of Cotton Incorporated. While we do a lot of great things here at Cotton Incorporated, there are a lot of private commercial companies that are also doing a lot of great things that can be applied to cotton. So it really was something that was really entrepreneurial, where I was able to then have freedom to kind of travel and look all around the world for different things that were good for cotton. Enjoyed it a lot because I really kind of split my time. Obviously was based in the United States, but I traveled extensively, spent a lot of time over in Europe. Europe is important, critical, because that's where a lot of the technologies come from. Most of the textile machinery manufacturers are based in Europe. Most of the chemical suppliers or chemicals that are applied to textile products, they're also based in Europe. So a lot of opportunity there to kind of go and mine and find those technologies, but then bring them back here, evaluate them, and then ultimately kind of cross back over to Asia, where that implementation would occur. So taking the technologies that we find in Europe, a big component of it was validating and vetting the technologies. As Cotton Incorporated, it's critical for us to not take something out that does not work. We are very much rooted in science and rooted in research. So what we take out, we want to make sure does what it's supposed to do, and we're not smoke and mirrors or anything, marketing something that doesn't work. So it's really great to kind of have that foot on the technology side, looking for new things in Europe, and then taking them to Asia for the experimentation and implementation. And also I feel like it was a great opportunity for collaboration, not only outside of Cotton Incorporated with other companies, but also internally. It was a great opportunity for me. I guess probably my favorite project was one that I started out with, was working with a machine that utilizes laser to create different aesthetics. They were very focused on denim at the time, and utilizing that laser technology to kind of give it a wash down look or a hand sanded look, where typically that had been done manually by people inside of the mill. So identified this company, and ultimately kind of going through the technology and learning about it, and I so it was like, well, this is important to pull in, our researchers too. So pulled in our product development team, pulled in our textile chemistry team, pulled in our trend team for direction on, some of the different looks that we were getting. And really, it was something that just snowballed and ended up being a collaboration that we carried on for several years, probably 6 years. We were doing different garment collections with this company, and ultimately it resulted in us getting that piece of equipment inside of our research lab. So we're still working with it today. But long answer to a short question. I think that kind of that hybrid approach of really being looking out there for all things that are good for cotton, and folding those into our portfolio and adding value that way.
Yeah, I mean, those all sound very impactful. And I think a lot of us, appreciate hearing how the initiatives really make a difference, not just for Cotton Incorporated, but really for our industry as a whole. Okay, I want to circle back. It sounds like you've spent a lot of time traveling, a lot of time in Asia, Europe. Can you tell us some of the more interesting experiences you've had while you've been traveling?
Sure. Well, traveled extensively in Asia. I mentioned that was kind of my last post before moving into this transition as CEO. And I think between 2016 and about just before COVID, I'd taken about 30 trips to Asia inside of just those 3.5 years. So a lot of experiences there. Probably over 75 trips to Asia. As I've been with the company, and just a little bit of background. The importance of Asia and why we put so much effort there is, vast majority of the U.S. crop, 80% or more of U.S., depending on the season, is exported, and majority of that goes to the Asia region. The sourcing has shifted over the years, but if we still look at kind of our top customers out there, number one customer of U.S. cotton would be China. Number two, Vietnam. We've got Pakistan, number three. So top three are really coming from Asia. Then you've got Turkey folded in there. You've got Mexico, and then go back to Asia, and you've got Bangladesh, Indonesia, and India. So while we grow it here in the U.S., we export it, and that's been kind of an interesting evolution for me. And what I've been able to see with the industry and how it's evolved over time is, if I think back when I started my degree at the College of Textiles, things were good in the United States, especially on the manufacturing side. We were consuming probably around 11.5 million bales here just inside of the United States. When I graduated, when I finished school, that was right around the time where China had just joined the WTO. So I think they joined the WTO in late 2001. So I graduated in '02, and that really was kind of a domino of a significant shift of what happened with manufacturing inside of the industry, and a lot of it started to transition overseas very, very quickly. So when I first started, I was first trip to China was in 2004. And it was just incredibly eye-opening to go there, because this was, again, they had joined the WTO, so they were gaining access to the rest of the world. They were becoming a huge supplier to a lot of the major global economies, the United States, European Union. And it was just really interesting on that trip, and very enlightening, because when I started the trip, I was going to a lot of different mills, and they were all state-owned mills. So they're all owned by the Chinese government. They were very old, a lot of old equipment. And then, later on in the trip, we started to get to some newer, some more modern mills. And this was all part of kind of the privatization of their industry in ways that it just took off. And so you go from these, state-owned mills that were just in terrible condition to brand new state-of-the-art mills. Some of them had, brand new equipment that I hadn't even seen yet. It's coming from the machinery manufacturers in Europe, brand new buildings. A lot of guys driving around in fancy cars. So it's just interesting to see that evolution and how China really took off, and, quickly went from consuming, 20 million bales of cotton to getting up to 35, 45 million bales of cotton. And then since, I've seen this transition now away from China. So it's just interesting to watch. Sourcing is all, very cyclical. A lot of it's chasing price. A lot of it's chasing labor markets where they can get things produced for lower costs. But also a lot of it's chasing areas that have a lot of good experience in producing high quality products. And other things are like regulation. The biggest thing recently that has caused de-risking from China has been Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, and it's caused brands and retailers to really take a look at their supply chain because it's becoming more challenging to source from China. So now we start to look at our customers and where we're positioning ourselves now, and we're starting to put a lot more emphasis on South Asia. We're looking at countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, India. Vietnam still remains a very important partner inside of Southeast Asia, but it's incredible to kind of watch this progression of where sourcing goes, and a lot of that is helps us kind of when we consider our model, at Cotton Incorporated, and how do we work with the global textile industry? How do we position ourselves? I mentioned we have an office in Hong Kong. That office really is dedicated as our Asia hub and is critically important because from Hong Kong, you can get about anywhere. So we have a team of marketing specialists there who are traveling to all the different countries, looking at Pakistan, Bangladesh, Vietnam. So we really have access to everybody that we need to. We still retain our office in Shanghai, China. China still is, number one consumer of cotton, number one exporter of cotton products to the United States. So it's still just a really important market for us. But I guess back to your, again, long answer to a short question, a lot of good experiences over the years. I think one of the most challenging things has been, how do you work with these different cultures? All these cultures are so different from when you travel to China and working with them versus folks in Vietnam. You get a range of different folks who are very open in their business and want to talk to you and see Cotton Incorporated as a great resource. And you see others that are a little bit more closed, and we have to work a little harder to develop those relationships and work with them.
Yeah, I can definitely see how all that travel has shaped your perspectives, especially when it comes to understanding those global markets and cultures. Follow-up question. This is a silly one, and feel free to pass, but I think we all would love to know, what is the craziest thing you've had to eat when you've been on one of these trips?
Okay, I'm not going to pass. I'll never pass. That's that. Let's see. I've had a lot of crazy things. I've definitely one of the craziest was probably scorpion. I've eaten snake, turtles, pigeon, donkey. Trying to think if there's anything else interesting. I'll never forget one of my first trips to China when I was walking in, this was in a rural area. So, sometimes when you're in Shanghai, it's a very metropolitan city. You can get about whatever you want to eat. But back in the day when I was traveling, I would go to a lot of these rural cities to meet with the manufacturers, and, just never forget walking into the first restaurant, and they had all these cages outside. And they had cages with obviously a lot of aquariums with different seafoods and things that maybe hadn't seen before, but then also just walking past one that had, different birds, one that had snakes. And I just thought, where am I? And very adventurous in my early years. I was always one that went in. I didn't want to risk offending, our hosts. So I was always willing to try everything. And knock on wood, I think I only got sick one time, but I guess most interesting dish that I ever had was, and this was a great story, was in China where they had a dish called the drunken shrimp. There's this teeny little shrimp that they put onto a plate, and they were live. They put kind of that cake cover over it, and then they come around with kind of like a rice whiskey, and they put it around the edges, and it all goes in, and essentially they shake it up, and then the shrimp basically die because of the alcohol. And then they take the cake cover off, and people just start grabbing them with their chopsticks, throw them in their mouths, and it was a lot. But then of course it was hilarious because one time a guy threw one in his mouth and it was still alive, and it just flipped out of his mouth over the table. And everybody's got a sense of humor everywhere, so we all got a good laugh out of it. But those are some of those interesting international experiences along
Wow.
the way.
Wow. Well, I'll make sure that if I'm ever traveling in Asia with you, I'm going to check the menu extra closely because that is all just wild to me. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Tell us what you're most excited about for the future of the cotton industry.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the future. I'm very bullish on cotton right now. I think that we have obviously we're facing a lot of headwinds right now. The market is in a very challenging condition, but I really see a resurgence in interest in natural fibers. I know that there's a lot of pressure out there and a lot of coverage that we hear about, climate and the environment, climate change and things like that. And, believe it or not, we've got a great solution. Cotton is an incredible solution. Our story about, planting a seed in the ground, cotton comes from the earth, cotton's biodegradable and can be returned to the earth. So this is really something that we have that's very important for us to be communicating and taking out to the industry. Our sustainability story continues to improve. We've got a great story with cotton as far as reducing our footprint. And then also just general innovation. Here at Cotton Incorporated, we have so many exciting things that are going on right now with innovation as far as innovation on the product side, developing new products. Key mission for us is how do we compete against synthetic fibers? We just came back, and I know several people on the call were at our most recent board meeting last week. We had an incredible display that showed, 157 different technology adoptions by brands and retailers of cotton products. And these adoptions were all linked back and all had the common thread of these were technologies that were developed at Cotton Incorporated. So really a lot of opportunity there on the product end. But also a lot of great things that are happening in the field. I was talking to Ed Barnes yesterday, our senior director in ag research, talking about some of the new emerging technologies that are coming out that we can see for making progress inside of the field. We've got a lot that's going on with our textile research team as far as looking for new technologies and circularity, ways that we can potentially be taking cotton, waste cotton fabric and converting it through enzymes into glucose that can be utilized or sugar that can be utilized for some industrial products. So while there are a lot of headwinds, I'm really excited about innovation, and I'm excited about our future of marketing cotton as a sustainable fiber. And really, if I think about it, my vision for us is for cotton not only to be the preferred fiber, but for cotton to be the sought after fiber. I see it as cotton really, we check so many of the boxes, and every fiber has a footprint, but cotton has a smaller footprint. We are a natural fiber, again, grown from the earth, can be returned to the earth. So there's a lot there that we need to be harnessing and taking out to the industry. Our competition has a significant footprint. If you consider rayon. It starts in a field, it starts as a tree. However, that has to then be converted to a fiber. That tree has to be broken down into wood chips, then has to go through a significant chemical process and ultimately extruded to a fiber. You look at polyester, plastics are polluting our world right now. You're finding microplastics in food. They're finding it in water. They're finding it in human blood. They're finding it in human organs. So there's a lot of here where I see a lot of tailwinds in regards to natural fibers and kind of a resurgence in this interest here. So we need to just harness that and, push that forward. But also I've got a lot of confidence in our industry simply because of the people. The future of this industry is really rooted in our people. Here at Cotton Incorporated, we have an incredibly talented staff, working on research and marketing activities. So this industry has been through a lot of challenges over the years, generations and generations of challenges. But we constantly have evolved. We constantly reinvented ourselves and found new opportunities. So I have a lot of confidence not only in the work that's being done, but in the people that are doing that work as well. So I think there are a lot of exciting things coming, and we'll look forward to kind of starting to pull out of this tough market that we're in right now.
Well, that's exciting to hear your vision for the future. And I know a lot of people in the industry will be looking to Cotton Incorporated for leadership in the coming years. So we're really excited to hear what you're excited about for the future. So I think we have time for maybe one last question. And this is one I always love to hear people in leadership answer. What is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
I would have to go back and say to seek advice and listen to those who came ahead of me, come ahead of you. I think that's something that's really important. I've, grown up with the whole concept of work smarter, not harder. I'm very good at working hard. I've put in a lot of miles. I've put in a lot of time, but for my younger self, I definitely would say, generate those relationships, learn from the people who came ahead of you. There's a lot of great people out there, especially in our industry, that have a lot of valuable experience. They've done a lot of great things within their career, and just kind of leveraging those to help with direction forward. It's, that's one of the things that I like so much about the cotton industry, and really part of the reason why I'm still with Cotton Incorporated is it's a very tight-knit industry. You run into people that have been in the industry for a long, extended period of time, even at the brand and retail level, where people maybe switch from one job to another, they still stay in the industry. So it really is a it's a club. It really is, and especially on the producer side of things, those are multi-generational farms. So it's been great to get to know a lot of the producers, and then ultimately I'm starting to meet, some of their kids who are taking over the farms now. So very tight-knit industry, and just making, it's important to kind of leverage what that knowledge and experience that those folks have had over the years.
Well, I think that's great advice, and I'm sure a lot of us are taking that to heart. It's always really insightful to hear how successful leaders can reflect on their journeys and the lessons they've learned along the way. Well, William, thank you for sharing with us today. It's really been a privilege to hear about your rich history with Cotton Incorporated and your vision for the future. Your leadership and commitment to innovation are all really exciting for all of us. And a big thank you to all of you who joined us today. We hope you found this conversation as insightful and inspiring as we did. It's clear that with William at the helm, Cotton Incorporated is definitely poised for an exciting future. So before we wrap up, just a quick reminder, we will be sharing a recording of this session along with some additional resources. So keep an eye on your inbox for that. And I'm going to turn the program back over to Christy Short to share what's ahead for Cotton and Coffee next year. Have a great rest of your day. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and thanks again for spending your morning with us.
And Stacy, thanks for hosting this. It's great opportunity, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays, and look forward to seeing everybody in 2025.
Thank you.